our partners, all the management, all faculty members, students who have logged on to this webinar today. Just to give you a quick brief about TASC itself, as you're already aware, we are an initiative created by the government of Telangana aimed at enhancing the employability of the youth of Telangana in different industry sectors. We recently completed our 8th anniversary, much like the state itself, because our foundation day is the same as the state. Today, we have 718 colleges which are part of TASC, out of which 145 are engineering colleges, 98 polytechnics, we have 51 pharmacy and 22 MBA colleges. Remaining are degree and PG colleges, and of course, the degree colleges also offer computer science as a subject itself. So close to about 450, 500 colleges actually offer computer-related subjects as part of their curriculum. So I welcome all of you to this session, and now I'll request our partner, 𝗖𝗍, and we are fortunate today to have the first woman president of 𝗖𝗍, Manisha Sabu, who heads the Pocharam campus, plus the Indore campus, as well as the delivery head for Infosys. Over to you, Manisha, for 𝗖𝗍.
Thank you, Shrikant. It's really a privilege to partner with TASC and contribute in a big way to shape future of IT industry in Telangana. The most important part about shaping future is about talent transformation, making sure that the talent the students especially and the right skills are available for the organizations who want to ramp up in Telangana. So it is important that 𝗖𝗍 plays a torchbearer role of sorts when it comes to talent transformation. And this series especially is very important instrument that we are using, because I have noticed that in past our WinTalk series had more than 2,000 participants. So that's why I feel it's a very big privilege that we have this platform from TASC, which we are able to leverage to reach out to students from all colleges, irrespective of whether they're located in Hyderabad or in one of the rural locations. So this is almost like Shrikant, you are doing a very noble task of democratizing knowledge, where every student have access to it. All they need is a will and passion for learning. Just one request to the students, since this is a series and we can also plan future sessions depending on what is it that you want us to talk to you about, please feel free to write it in the chat box. There's a chat box on the platform. Please write there. If there's any specific subject where you need help, any particular code that 𝗖𝗍 can provide you, we are here to help you. You are not alone in your journey to complete your engineering and get a job. 𝗖𝗍 is here to partner with you. Tell us what you need. With this short note, Shrikant, over to you.
Thank you, Manisha. I think the strength of 𝗖𝗍 is the 2,000 plus members 𝗖𝗍 has, the 30 years that it has been into existence. And that's what 𝗖𝗍 is able to bring. So thank you very much, Manisha, Nija, Srini, and the entire team of 𝗖𝗍. So before we look into it, I think today, as the industrial revolution has got accelerated and everyone is talking about digitization, one of the things comes along with it is the cybersecurity challenges. And that's where we decided that let's talk about cybersecurity today, because that's a growing area and an area which is required by everyone, right? Whether the person is literate, non-literate, cyber wellness, cyber security. I think these are buzzwords that are spoken now everywhere. And that's where we decided that while we're halfway through this series, let's look at cybersecurity itself. And today we have two experts with, and if I look at them together, they have more than half a decade or half a century of experience between themselves. And that's what we are able to bring in. So without any further ado, let's dive straight into the session itself. First, I'd like to introduce Dr. Sriram, who is the CEO of Cybersecurity Center for Excellence, Hyderabad. And he is also part of the Data Security Council of India, which is a venture of NASSCOM, my erstwhile organization. Dr. Sriram is a senior management executive with 3 decades of global experience in IT, ICT, and telecom industry. He has, prior to this, worked with Oracle, VeriSign, Hewlett-Packard, Siemens. He has led multi-million-dollar global engagements and top-tier clients in US, Germany, UK, Japan, Malaysia, Middle East, Africa, Philippines, India. He holds a PhD in Open Innovation in ICT, conferred by Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, Delhi in 2016. He has published a book titled Business Innovation ICT Strategies. As I said, he's currently, heading the Data Security Council of India Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, which is a joint venture between NASSCOM and the government of Telangana. And he's into incubating startups, running research, innovation. And prior to taking over this, position, he was heading information sciences at T-Hub. As you know, T-Hub is one of the largest ecosystem, innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem in the world today. So welcome, Dr. Sriram, to a WinTalk series. The next specialist who is there with us today is Mr. 𝗂𝗶𝗁𝗂𝗃, who is the Principal Group Manager from Microsoft Defender India Development Center. Abhishek has close to 2 decades of experience across digital security engineering, operations, consulting. During the 9+ years at Microsoft, Abhishek has successfully incubated and established multiple security functions such as Cyber Defense Operations Center, Azure Cloud Security, Developer Platform Security, Governance, Risk and Compliance, etc. have been his key focus areas. In his current role, he leads the talented team of security researchers that help Microsoft global customer respond to and mitigate evolving risks and threats as part of Microsoft Defender product portfolio. I think we are all familiar with it. That's the product that Microsoft has for prevention of cyber threats. Abhishek has presented his works at various conferences, including the RSA conference, and he has also published multiple white papers on OWASP. Abhishek is associated with the Cybersecurity Center here in Hyderabad and helps the Cyberbad police also towards driving security awareness amongst citizens and setting up capabilities to tackle increasing number of cyber crimes in the society. So welcome, Abhishek, to the WinTalk series. So to start with, Dr. Sriram, let me turn to you and help us understand, because when we talk about cyber security, if you can help us understand some numbers over there in terms of trends, in terms of what kind of a industry we are talking about, why is it important, and how can our students, start looking at this industry? Over to you, Dr. Sriram.
Yes, okay. Hello, can you all hear me?
Loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here. First of all, thank you very much, Srikanth Garu, for hosting this session. Task has been doing phenomenally well, very well connected, and it is hitting the right areas. Absolutely. Skilling is one of the things where we know that so many students are there, engineers are there, but from so many reports, the employability itself is in question. And that is a crucial area that needs to be addressed, which Task is doing wonderfully well. And hello, Abhishek and Nirja. So what we want to do here is that look at the landscape of cyber security, in the sense that what are we really up against? Okay, so it is growing to be globally a $300 billion market. Okay, and it cuts across all horizontals and all verticals. I will not rattle out a whole load of statistics, but try to put forth some simple figures that will make sense. So the losses due to cybersecurity by 2030 are going to touch more than the figures range from $1 trillion to $3 trillion. Okay, those are the losses or the damage caused by cybersecurity. So these $300 billion is the investment. That means the size that is the market is. This is the investment required so that we can stop that damage, that level of damage from happening. Okay. So having said that, now what does India need? At least 1 million professionals by 2025. By 2022 itself, at the end of it, there is such a vast gap. Now figures vary, but it is growing at a very non-linear pace. The reason is very simple. The reason is that we are digitalizing our ecosystem very rapidly. Meaning that if you take your own lifestyle or that of the organization or that of the economy or the government, you will find that there is rapid digitalization. If you could just run through some of the slides, we can, okay, maybe I can talk, okay? So that is there. Now, very quickly, meaning that if you were to look at the revenue insights, I'm talking about the Indian cybersecurity services. The GCCs and MNCs are extra. They grew from $4.3 billion in 2019 and to about $8.5 billion in 2021. And the products, now there are about 250 domestic Indian products which are there in the market. They grew from 740 million in 2019 to 1.37 billion in 2021. And of course, the innovation is that cloud-based services and products imbued with AI, ML are growing, and the services industry covers privacy, identity and access management, governance, risk and compliance, data security, etc. So there are many different areas, right from zero trust networks to CASB to IAM and so on, and privacy. So privacy laws are growing across the world. So if you have to do business with any of the countries across the world, can move on to the next slide. This intro is over. Yeah. So if privacy laws are to be adopted across the world, then suddenly cybersecurity will become very important. So GDPR, as we know, that when it came out, people thought that yes, it is another one which has a lot of strict provisions for fines and penalties and all these things for breaches. And now they have realized that it actually is causing, I mean, they're very strict about it, and they're slapping fines on many of the organizations for privacy. So cybersecurity and privacy are two areas like cousins. So both are important, and cybersecurity spans across all horizontals and all verticals, ranging from hardware security to networks to platform and cloud applications level security, fake news detection, fake videos detection. The list is almost all comprehensive. Practically any area you touch tomorrow is going to have a cyber component, including your vehicles, automotive, and all the devices. So with 5G and all coming in, it's going to grow even more rapidly. So these are the brief areas of cybersecurity which are there, and the market is growing. We will explore a little bit more about it. There is another some facets that I wanted to mention, saying that geographically services comprise in India, the services market, about 80-85% of the revenue is got from the global markets, and the product companies predominantly came from the Indian market, which is 60-65%. But since we are incubating startups, we know that they are expanding globally. Okay, and many of them, cloud and automation, are driving the insights really. And talent for 2021, the services companies have a cyberspace workforce of 2.18 lakhs, over 2 lakhs, whereas the products have about nearly 30,000 people. And geographically, there are so many key investment priorities now. R&D and collaboration with academia are very important. So 78% of the bulk of 78% of the Indian cybersecurity service providers companies, they offered platform-based services, and nearly as many offered product-based companies also offered platform-based services. That is an important move. So with these in mind, this is the cybersecurity roadmap that was devised, that was put together by DSCI. So from the bottom, you go towards the top, you see that it is rising in management level. At the top are CISOs, CPOs, CROs, global head cybersecurity services, consulting partners, and all. So at the bottom, you will find the different domains from network security to endpoint security, data security, cyber forensics, and so on, industrial control. So these are there, and there are different programs designed to match all of these. You can move on to the next slide. Yeah. So people may ask, what are the roles in data privacy? So there are so many roles coming up, and of course we offer certifications in these areas. So ranging from VP cross-border data at the top, you see that data privacy analyst is there. So once the privacy laws come in, you'll find that there is an astonishing number of areas that are opening up, and many professionals are required in order to do that. Almost everything you'll find has a cyber component in it, and that's why it needs protection. Cybersecurity is going to be one of the prerequisites. In fact, no contract will be signed unless it is said that the the vendor is cyber safe and the subcontractors are all cyber safe. So that is what is required. Next slide. So some resources for upskilling are given. Some are free, some are paid, and so on. So I will stop here. Am I out of time, Srikanth?
Yeah, I think we will touch on all these topics later on also. And I
Yes.
think now, Abhishek, moving on to you, since you're working with Microsoft and you are running the entire research and everything for this product itself, which is making life safer for a lot of Microsoft users. Why don't you help us understand, from an organizational perspective and your user base, what does cybersecurity mean to you, and what do you think could be the future for it?
So yeah, thanks, Srikanth. And first, glad to be part of this session, and I hope whatever we'll share today will be useful to the audience. To answer your question, Srikanth, I think cybersecurity today is a core enabler for business. Our businesses will not exist if we do not focus on cybersecurity. So the product that we make for our consumers, or for that matter for enterprises, they all trust us that we are making it, it will be reliable. So we have to build safety features, security features right from the day it's incubated. Any feature which gets incubated has to have those safety security features built within it. Without that, it will not meet the objectives in any way. So I would say that, and as Dr. Sriram said, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So why is it a multi-billion-dollar industry? It is a multi-billion-dollar industry because every industry is getting digitized. Our digital portfolio, our digital estate is becoming so big, and it won't run if it is not secured. Because if it is not secured, somebody will bring it down. To the extent that the businesses can suffer big losses, they can come to a standstill. So that is why there's so much of investment happening on cybersecurity. At my work, we produce both equipments and products which enables business, but at the same time we have to make it safe for customers and enterprises to use. So it's front and center. It's extreme focus for us as of now, and it will continue like that.
Right. Thanks. So of course, and come to think of it, and Dr. Sriram, you also touched on it. Imagine if you're driving in your car, even a car which is there today, and someone hacks into it and starts eavesdropping on you, listening to whatever is being discussed in the car itself. You need security to control that also. So yes, of course, I think today, if we look at it, everything, and I think it is not only saying that yes, it's secure, but assuring that it is also secure. Yes. And that's where probably things are. So let me start by asking you itself, is cybersecurity career path a rewarding career path? Abhishek?
I would say yes. If you, for sure, it's a very rewarding career path, because there are many different opportunities there. You can build based on your, and it's a big domain. So based on your interest area and skills, you can take up various different roles within this cybersecurity world. It is just like, if we go back 2 decades, so people were looking for software engineers, people were looking for database administrators, people were looking for server administrators. But over the years, because of this increasing focus in cybersecurity, it has become a discipline in itself, right? And be it a service providing organization, be it a product manufacturing organization, be it any other organization, whether it's banking or telecom or shipping or logistics or manufacturing, every single industry will have a cybersecurity function because they are all digitized, they are all getting digitized, and they all need to secure it. So in terms of opportunities, in terms of the rewards that you get from pursuing a career like this, it is definitely, I would say, among the top many people talk about AI, ML, cloud. So I would say that, add cybersecurity also to that. This is one of the most coveted career path that students are pursuing. Not just students, many people maybe in the middle of their career are also switching because it is a very rewarding career path.
Right. Thanks to Dr. Sriram. What would be the skills that would be required to build a career in cybersecurity?
Yeah. So if you could put up that skills map again, we'll go through that, but I will talk about it. So you see, what I would take on where Abhishek had mentioned this, and practically also we have seen that you can go back a couple of slides. Yeah. No. So you see that during the peak of pandemic, I used to receive calls, okay, from top companies saying that we need 200 people overnight. So I would ask which areas. They said we are getting tons of resumes from AI, ML, and all of those also. Nothing wrong with that. But in cybersecurity, we are not getting resumes. Okay, there is such a severe shortage of professionals. So the unemployment rate worldwide, when we studied, is ranging from -5% to -10%, something of the sort. So the skills required, if you could just scroll back a couple of slides, yeah, probably. There are skills to another two.
Another two, okay.
Yeah, maybe one more slide, yeah. So the skills required would be extensively, these are some of the areas in cybersecurity where the skills are required, depending on your area of interest and all. Now, there are some myths that we want to dispel, that everybody needs to be a hardcore programmer or a hacker in cybersecurity. Not true. There are people who are completely on the legal side also, as I put up for privacy and all those also. Then there are people who do audits. Okay, there are various other areas which are there. Okay, so some of them don't even, they use some tools to go on testing, for example, OSINT tools or forensic tools. They don't do a whole lot of coding every day, okay, and all that. So there are different areas. Now, why is cybersecurity important and all we have seen, and why are the skills required? See, it's like this. When will humanity stop needing defense and police and law enforcement? Unlikely, never. Okay, the other areas can go up or down, but cyber, not to beat up the other areas, please, but it is like that. Because say once upon a time we used to have this thing called object-oriented programming or database also. So nowadays you have smart, so you can hardly find anything that is not smart, right? From washing machine to fridge to everything. So AI, ML are going to be there everywhere. So when they are there everywhere, then what is the specialty? Everybody needs to know it. Okay, it's part of, even in cybersecurity, you need to know AI, ML. Okay, so whereas here, this like the defense law enforcement, it's only going to get exacerbated, because if you have a small shop which is there at the corner of the street that needs some geographic protection and all, but the same shop is online, people from anywhere across the world can hack it. So that's the reason why we are more and more vulnerable now. Okay, so I'll just stop here so you can proceed. Yeah, please do contact us. The general thing is that it's too much to expect to explain everything in one short session. But since we are an industry body, please continue to reach out to us. We will be partnering with Task and a lot of industry experts and a pool of them. So definitely, please be in touch. You're on mute, Srikanth, I think.
Sorry, I just realized that. Yeah, thank you very much. I think that was useful. So, Abhishek, since a lot of third year, fourth year students are over here, I think the question coming in their mind is that where do I start as a fresh graduate?
Yep. So there are multiple ways to think about this question. So one, today many of the colleges, if you see, they have focused courses on cybersecurity. At least some of them have started. Some of them are probably deliberating. I think if you're lucky, probably you are already studying in a college or a university where this is available as a course. So if you're interested, you can always go for that. That's very straightforward. But maybe you have not been able to do that. In that case, there are various sources available. If this is an industry that you want to explore, Dr. Sriram showed on the screen some sources. But that's sometimes you may get lost in it. Like on the internet, if you just randomly search for something, there will be too much of information. But there are certain bodies who can help. There are bodies like SANS, and maybe as a follow-up to this WinTalk series, we can share some of those known reliable sources which could be helpful. But let me also address it in a different way. So these days, and I'm pretty sure that it's something similar for other large enterprises, like even within Microsoft, we take in a lot of interns, right? Third year students, fourth year students. And today, when people come for internship, they have this also as one of the opportunities available to them. Not just the classic software engineering discipline and program management, but also things in cybersecurity. And many of the students are being adopted, kind of absorbed in internship in these areas, and finally they go on to take up this as a career if they find it interesting. So those interventions are happening. Beyond this, I think, and Dr. Sriram would know it better, DSCI has certain initiative, like Cybersecurity is another one, where the objective is that maybe the not so privileged cadre of the society where students are there, we can reach out and kind of help them in going through some of the courses which can provide them a platform to kind of build a career in this. But I feel that it has to also be addressed much earlier. Now, after all, if you have to teach this, you need some good faculty, good teachers. Now, where would they come from? So maybe we'll have to tap into the schools also at an early stage, have a program whereby teachers also come out to kind of percolate it down in the society in a big way. But these are the various ways in which students can start. There are sources we can share. There are programs which are happening by DSCI. And then if they get in any of these enterprises, they do focus programs, obviously. But yeah, these are some of the examples, I would say.
Thanks. So moving on to you, Dr. Sriram, you said coding is not required. But what if I don't even have a technical background? Can I still do cybersecurity?
Yeah. I would say that I don't say that coding is absolutely not required. And there is a large portion, serious technical areas where coding is very much required, where they write programs, scripts, and numerous things. And in fact, you have to be so clever that you have to be able to crack the existing systems. So that is there. I'm saying there are also areas where coding is not required and all that. To your question, I mean, there are a variety of, if you could just put up the slide where that skills roadmap is there, cybersecurity skills roadmap. Hello, yeah. Okay, so while that is coming up, so next slide. Yeah. So basically, see, if you talk about cybersecurity, at the bottom you will see a number of areas, okay, divided. Okay, from there one would rise to larger and larger positions, including taking responsibility for architecture or being a GRC consultant, risk management, and so on, and such. So there are many paths. Okay, for example, in banking there is cyber insurance. Okay, not only in banking, everywhere. Sorry. Okay, there is cyber insurance. Now people there would be assessing risks properly. Okay, and doing that. So one who decides to take different career paths can choose depending on his talents, motivation, interests, and all of those. So that is one would do, and that requires a little bit of a help. And also we can point to the right resources. Please do attend very many DSCI programs and future skill prime programs and all those which we put together. And also we'll partner with TASK to address these specific areas. Yeah, so that is there. So as I told you that ranging from management professionals to legal professionals to various areas are there. Nowadays there is cyber diplomacy. Okay, and there are, so those different career paths are also there. Psychologists are there, sociologists are there, because after all it is behavior online. There is user behavior analytics, how to do better user experience, how to make it more seamless. So cybersecurity should not be obvious and in the face. It should be as silent and seamless as possible, that it doesn't impede the current one, like making people go through heavy passwords and n number of checks and all these things. How seamless do we make it?
Dr. Sriram, you got muted.
Oh, sorry, I don't know. Last bit means I said like user behavior analytics, because how seamless do we make it? Cybersecurity. It cannot be that you are making people go through n number of checks to do that. How do you do it? It should not become a burden, the security itself, right? While it is happening silently in the background. Okay. And the process experts are very much required. That for the entire process of uploading patches, doing that, operational side of things and all. Today's, as Srikanth was talking about automobile, I may say that today's mechanic, yeah, is there. He does mechanical parts and all this thing in these things. Tomorrow's mechanic will need to upload software patches into the car, and needs to be very qualified. Otherwise, some radioactive or malware stuff can get uploaded and things can go haywire. So there are robotics. All these are going to increase, hence the threats also increase drastically in terms of both scale and sophistication. That is the problem. There are malwares with 16 layers of deception which are there. They're extremely aware where it is. If it is in China, it will keep quiet. It will not activate itself. If it is originated in China, if it is in India, it will activate. If it is in test environment, it knows it is in test environment. It will not activate itself. If it is in production, then it will activate, and so on. So these are the things, challenges that people are facing. Yeah.
Interesting that you mentioned about how people are also the people who are spreading these threats are also becoming intelligent, and the code itself, the malicious code itself is becoming more intelligent, starting from a simple 𝗧 or C brain, as it used to be called in late 80s, where the viruses originated from till today. What we're seeing is completely changed and different. So typically, Abhishek, whenever anyone talks about cybersecurity to the youth, everyone says, I want to become a cyber, ethical hacker, right? That's the first thing that they talk about, either hacking or ethical hacking only. But if we see this entire thing, we are not seeing too much of hacking over here. So are we, is there a disconnect there? And what are the roles that you envisage out of this entire security roadmap that we are seeing? Is something that the students could aspire for.
Yeah, so I would say ethical hacking is a very broad term. It might be interpreted in a number of ways, and it has become popular because of certain courses also. And it has a element of attraction in it, right? So this just sounds cool, like if you're an ethical hacker. But when you come to industry, it's interpreted a little differently, and it takes a lot more sharper focus, right? Because you need to have a specific skill to address a specific set of problems. So many of these can be interpreted as ethical hacker. For example, an analyst in SOC that you see on the bottom right-hand side, that's basically an analyst sitting in a security operations center. Now, if he doesn't understand hacker, we use a term called TTP, tactics, techniques, procedures. If he doesn't understand the hacker's tactics, techniques, and procedures, that person will not be an effective analyst in the SOC, right? So that's ethical hacking knowledge or understanding is required. But then again, as I said, it's a very broad term. You know, a person who is working on an application security could also have been through a course of ethical hacking and understands how exactly hackers break into, let's say, a web application, and therefore he's able to build the right set of security controls and all. So this is what Dr. Sriram is sharing, is the industry standard acronym, which the industry understands. And we should go by this because this helps you further identify what exactly is your interest area. Because at the end of the day, you would also want to pursue something that you find interesting. For example, somebody may be interested in IoT technologies. Then you can see on the right-hand side, there is a consultant for IoT security. Somebody might be interested in the legal aspects, right, as Dr. Sriram was saying. So we have other roles for that. Somebody might be like hardcore, like I want to understand exactly how a malware on a Linux platform works. And for that, there is a different kind of malware analyst role. So based on, and it is quite vast. It's actually a very big domain. So, and like if you take a medical field, there's heart specialist. Today you go to a specialist, right? So heart specialist, you go to orthopedic. Like that, there is specialization, and people spend their entire lifetime developing skills in that specific area. So, you might be doing ethical hacking, but you'll probably take up one of the roles over here.
Interesting. Thanks. So before I move on to the next question, just wanted to remind all the people who are there on this webinar today, please keep your questions, type your questions into the chat box, the question box, so that post my asking the question finishes maybe in the next 10 minutes, we will start taking up your questions so that our experts can answer them. So please keep on typing in your questions so that we can answer them. So, Dr. Sriram, help us understand, right? We've discussed all these roles and we spoke about ethical and TTP, etc. So what does a day in the life of a cybersecurity professional look like?
That's a hard one. Because there are, as I told you, so many roles are there. It's very likely to be different in different areas. For example, if you are into hardware security and you are looking at side channel attacks or power consumption of the thing, you may be looking at things differently. If you are into GRC or governance, risk and compliance, and you are building risk models, then you may be doing detailed modeling of a certain organization's risk profile, and you will not be getting down into so much. But whereas if supposing you are a SOC analyst, you will be looking at the threats that are incoming as being filtered by your threat mitigation platform, and you become expert in those tools and be able to attend to the critical ones. Okay, so the general trends we can point out to. General trends now are towards automation. Okay, AI ML is coming in heavily, because please understand that it is too much for any human effort. Okay, supposing there is a network that is being breached, how are you going to analyze all the network logs? You can't. So obviously you're going to write layers and layers of automation. So that is there. And so somebody could be there who is writing a lot of code to automate stuff in the product, right? So that you can analyze it better and you can craft or tailor a certain product specific to an industry or an organization. There may be people who are doing that. There may be at an operations level people who are looking at the endpoint security, flagging alerts and doing that. There could be people who are setting up things. Then on the legal side, see, please understand that when you talk about cyber crime, okay, when there is crime, after all, you can have all the laws. There could be people who are drafting laws and who are applying laws and all that. There are three levels there. One is the law enforcement agencies, which comprises of police, intelligence agencies, and all these. Then the next level is the prosecution, okay, which are the lawyers who are in the court and all those things, right? Prosecution. The third level is the judiciary. Okay, unless all these three are perfectly there, the law and all, nobody will ever get prosecuted. And with this AI, ML and all coming in, you have added layers and layers of autonomous decision making, or layers and layers. So it becomes very hard. So cyber forensics could be one area which is there. So typically in a day of a person, I would say he must definitely upgrade himself. So there must be certain time allocated for skills upgradation and understanding what's happening in the rapidly moving area. Okay, both technical side, management, legal, industry, all these areas. So that is it. Then he will be applying himself specifically to his specific subdomain, what he has an expertise in. Okay, so that he would be applying himself, and then there are constant risks and all which are coming in. So he will have to attend to that and be keenly aware of the day-to-day incidents or day-to-day threats and everything that the organization is facing. Otherwise, he's out of sync with reality. He's doing in an reality or building something where he's not in touch with the thing. Okay, organizational needs, the risk profile of the organization is the policies and procedures that are there in the organization. Those he will need to be doing that. Then there are people, depending on their role and level, seniority of experience, would be looking at larger and larger ones. People who would work at an ecosystem level, some of them, for example, we are there and all that. There are people who could be there who are constant look at threat intelligence. That means what kinds of threats are arising in the landscape and analyzing those really well. Analyzing malware, all of these are there. So it varies, and that makes cybersecurity a very interesting field. Okay, there is something in it for everyone. Okay, so no matter what your background is. So that would be my answer probably.
Right. Thanks. So Abhishek, anything you would like to add? If not, then I would like you to talk about what are the steps being taken to address, because there are so many skill gaps that we can easily see, right, between what is happening today in the academic institutions and what the industry is actually looking at.
Yeah, I think Dr. Shriram has already covered, but depending on the role that you take, your experience or a day for you would be very different. One of the services that I take care of is where there are analysts responding to attacks for our customers globally. So it's a very exciting role, because on any given day you have a whole bunch of things to deal with, right from nation-state actors to organized criminals who are trying to hack into billion-dollar enterprises and push them back. We kind of fight them off. So it's very interesting. Now, I think the interventions that we can do varies a lot. There is no one t-shirt size fits all kind of approach. And I've touched upon some of them, like at the enterprises today, because they themselves need cybersecurity professionals. We are reaching out to educational institute, forming kind of a cooperative effort to launch courses which can be helpful to the students. We do things like capture the flag kind of events, which is where students from different universities come and participate. They experience what it is to do a work like this in a large enterprise and go back with a lot of learnings. Again, as I mentioned, there are programs which are being done to kind of help those students who may not be able to, who may not have the privilege to land in large enterprise to experience something like this. So all of these programs are being done. It's still not enough, because as we shared, there are millions of jobs which still needs to be filled up with professionals, and this would require a much larger scale effort. But all these efforts are in motion. How much progress we make depends on this kind of platforms, which brings together enterprises as well as educational institutes and not-for-profit organizations also. Take, for example, a program being run by even the Cybersecurity Police, which is trying to spread security awareness amongst citizens, not just and citizens as well as youth. Going to schools and colleges and trying to give them a view of their approach is to safeguard citizens and youth, but then they get some exposure to this. So all this hopefully will be able to gain a momentum whereby it addresses the gap. But then I think if you're already a professional, one of the things which is definitely required is it's a very fast-moving industry. Things change very often, and it's quite sophisticated. So there has to be an investment to learn something new periodically. very frequently, I would say. Then only we'll keep up to date with whatever is happening, whatever is the latest, and be able to tackle that. So that investment is required from people who are already in this industry. And not to mention, there are a lot of courses and certifications available today. So you can chase those. Like I can see some questions in the chat where people are asking, how can I get CISM certified? Like that, CISSP is there, CEH is there. So those, if you do those certification, it gives you a kind of a quick knowledge base on which you can build further, basically.
Sure. So I think one thing which we have been talking about for the last about 40-45 minutes is, looks like that every role requires some kind of an experience. So Dr. Sriram, since we are dealing with all freshers over here, how do they become part of this industry?
So one of the things that we see is the lack of expertise. First of all, we need to understand that things are not, you don't get them that easily. Meaning that, supposing there is someone who has attended a 3-day course or even a 1-week course. Okay, so in that, let's say you take some tool. Okay, it could be any tool, Shodan or anything else what he has done, threat mitigation platform, Microsoft's or anyone else, Evantis or something else. Then for the person to gain expertise once he's in a job, or maybe he's trying out open source tools and other things on his own, it takes hundreds and hundreds of hours of practice. Supposing someone has attended a course for 1 week, then he has been walked through some examples, scenarios, and stuff. And after that, he understands them, he does those examples and all, and he gets a certificate, and then he's very happy that he's qualified. That is only the starting point. That is not how professionals are. He has to go back and really try out 1,000,000 scenarios on his own, 1,000 scenarios, and go on inside, out. He has to try on his own. That is how expertise is built. Okay, and that is what is lacking. Because from their side, you can go on, like the saying goes that you can take a horse to the swimming pool, but I mean, one man can take a horse to the pool, but 10 men cannot take it. So that is what is lacking here. So these resources are not less. I mean, they are there all over the net, and we can provide, we can post links, we can do all this. Probably in the slide deck also are there. But they have to pick it up and take it to heart. And after they did that, it is not wanting. There are so many jobs going begging, as I already mentioned. It is in negatives, the unemployment rate. But people are not willing to dive deep. That is the problem. They need to take it to heart and dive deep. And only one can help them in any one of these areas. They're all highly complex areas. You want to get into IoT security, then there are so many aspects. You need to read books and then get deeply interested in the subject. And they're coming in big waves, meaning that 5G is coming. 5G is not there in India yet. 5G is going to come. Then suddenly it's going to explode. Okay, similarly, many are going to move to cloud. You want to be a cloud security expert, tell us. We'll point to resources, but then you have to really take it to heart and get deep and read it. Okay, so that's what is required. Certifications and all these, many things. Anyone can give, or if they put in reasonable effort, people will get it. But from there to become a real expert takes a lot of passion, hard work, practice, all of these things it takes.
Sure. So Abhishek, before we move to the audience questions, last question, in case someone has already made up his mind or her mind to move into another domain, right, and started working on that track, but post our webinar today decides to move towards cybersecurity, is the transition easy? Let's say someone wants to be in cloud, and then now after this session thinks about moving to cyber.
Yeah, I don't think any profile or any job that we do today is easy. It all requires, well, you can say it's easy if you love that work, and if you put in the required effort, it'll work out ultimately. I would say that it is possible, right? So if you want to make a switch to a cybersecurity career, even in the midst of something else that you're doing, it's very much possible, and people are doing that. And I have seen in my own experience many examples in my own organization, outside of my organization, but it does take some effort. Because obviously you are changing your domain from somewhere where you may be comfortable to something there where you are new, right? But if that's the passion area, it's fair game. Also to understand, I'll also put some perspective here. So let's say you're a software engineer and you have 10 years of software engineering experience, right? And you get into making a product for cybersecurity. Now that software engineering experience is leveraged here. It's not like, if you're making security product is just like making any other product, and we need experienced software engineers for that. We need experienced data architects for that, right? Dr. Shriram said that AI/ML is used in these products today, so we need experienced AI/ML professionals here. So it's interlinked, right? And so somebody may say that, hey, I'm a very good. I have been making, let's say, ERP products, and I suddenly want to influence the security, state of security, and want to make a security product. The experience that you've gained can very well be leveraged. In fact, you'll be better because you have a core ability that you already have, and you don't need to worry about that. But there will also be situations where you're moving from a different line. Many people, for example, they are lawyers, but they want to become cyber lawyers. So they'll make a switch to understanding cyber laws and regulation and become expert there, right? So obviously it's some amount of effort, but people are doing that. People are doing that a lot, I would say.
No, I would like to add one small point to that. So please understand, people who are professionals in the field who want to make switch to the field, so you need to choose the adjacent areas. For example, someone is a network administrator. Then it's easy for him to add some things and become network security administrator, right? Database administrator. So database security related one. Like he had mentioned, someone is good in programming, and then he can get into from DevOps to DevSecOps. Okay, like that. So he can add to that, enhance it, and then slightly move into the adjacent areas, and then get into the full-blown, become a full-blown cybersecurity professional. So that would be the thing. If anyone has any doubts, we'll be more than happy to help. Okay.
Sure. Thanks. So let's move on to the audience questions quickly. We have a couple of questions and probably a couple of minutes. I hope you don't mind if we stretch it by about 10 more minutes. So the first question is by Rahita, and she says, what are challenges of cybersecurity? Wow, I wish it was a simple answer.
Dr. Shriram, do you want to take that?
What are the challenges of cybersecurity? Meaning cybersecurity as a taking it up for a person as a profession, or the challenges that cybersecurity domain itself faces?
Domain itself, probably.
Yeah, domain itself faces is very simple. No, first of all, you started the root of it. None of the systems like the internet or none of the existing laws or those were built for cyber. They were built for products, I mean the physical products, and for people's safety and security. They are not. That is the transition that we are making now. Okay, so that's a huge one. So there's entirely new paradigm shift everywhere. The original internet was not built for security, was not secure enough. Okay, the principle on which the internet was built. So you're adding security as a layer. So that's why we have now security by design, privacy by design, everywhere, embedded everywhere as concepts. So in the existing systems, legacy systems which are there, that is going to be a challenge. That is the reason why we are having some products and solutions and all. And if you come to some areas, it is almost impossible to fix legacy systems easily. For example, let's say you want to upgrade the firmware in all the installed cameras which are there. Okay, it's not going to be easy. Okay, so you will have to provide some other solution using edge or something like that. So these are a flavor of some of the challenges that are there.
Yeah, and I'll add to Dr. Shriram. One of the biggest challenges of cybersecurity are us humans. So unaware human is one of the biggest problem in everywhere, within an enterprise, outside. The way you are handling your own social media accounts leads to cybersecurity challenges. So awareness is key. That is why once you join any company, they'll do a lot to make you aware, to skill you up.
Yeah, yeah. So one has to just remember that the endpoint is not the mobile device or the laptop, but it is person.
Sure. No, no, absolutely. And Abhishek, as you earlier mentioned, when my good friend, Mr. Duggal, who is the first cybersecurity lawyer over here, when he was moving into that area itself more than 2 decades ago, no one had actually heard about it. But yes, of course, Pawan Duggal at that time started working in this area with the legal aspect and angle in mind. So absolutely. The next question is by Rosie. How to protect data in transit versus the rest?
I'll take that up. So it's a very technical question. So, but I'll answer in that language only. So data in rest, data in transit means data which is moving. Once you send the data, it's on the wire, going from one location to another, which is in a split of a second. And then data is rest is what you store in your databases and all. And there are various ways to secure it. You use encryption. You can read more, and encryption in itself is a big topic. So cryptography is a big topic in itself. There are people who are experts in cryptography. So we use encryption. We use variants of encryption like hashing and things like that. We have something called as public key cryptography, which is used for safeguarding data. And then there are a lot of modern technologies coming up, which will help you in protecting data, like you might have heard about data leakage, right? So there are ways to protect data leakage, where if you define a data to be sensitive, there are technologies which can help you protect that data. But that's just a very short answer to this question. But there are mostly it's encryption is used when you use data at rest. We use data leakage prevention. We use rights management to kind of restrict who can access what data. There are technologies like, if I go more deeper, we call it JIT, so just-in-time access, or just enough access, which restricts who can access data, when they can access data. All of them are used for data protection, and many more, actually.
Right. Next is by Raghu, how to protect firewall from attacks. Well, firewall is supposed to protect the system from attacks. So not sure what Raghu wants to know, but yeah.
I can take that also. So I'll quickly answer, and I'll answer it generically a bit. So you just asked, Raghu, you've asked about firewall, but for that matter, that question can be extended to servers, to databases, and so on. And if you go by statistics, more than 90% of attacks all happen because of hygiene issues. Somebody has kept a weak password, somebody has shared a password, somebody has not patched the system, somebody has not configured your systems properly. So if you do even these basic things, configure firewall securely, harden it, we use a term called harden, and patch it properly, that itself will protect a lot. But then that's not enough. There is a small percentage of attacks which are very sophisticated. So we use sometimes we use something called as MFA, multi-factor authentication. So if a firewall admin wants to access the firewall, make that tougher. So like that, there is a whole bunch of things that you can do to protect.
Right. Next question, Nandini is asking, is open web application protection security project protocol, is it good enough to test a website?
OWASP is a standard, okay, in which there are a list of things that are laid out, different areas, okay, like SQL injection, cross-site forgery, and all these things are. So they are meant to cover different bases of attacks and all these things. But is that enough to test a website? The answer is probably no. I mean, OWASP attempts cover all the areas, but you will have to do a lot more. Not have a simple small checklist and simply say, yeah, I've checked this, and that's the reason why. That's why you have very sophisticated intensive tools, whether it is VFT or you have static and dynamic testing, DAST, and many other things which are there. So you would have to the behavior of the website, and also it can get very hairy also. depending on the sophistication and all which are there. So that is the reason why some of all the basic precautions and all that will work. But you have to understand one thing, that from the attacker side, cybersecurity today is big business, meaning that there are nation state level attackers and there are businesses. I mean, just like your normal businesses, there are businesses which pay healthcare and also bonuses for cyber people who do, and there are buildings full of hackers sitting there. So if they really want to get, there are only two. they say that in a very sarcastic way that there are only two types of people, organizations, that are those that have been hacked and those that are about to be hacked, or those who don't know that they are hacked or something like that. So cyber resilience is also important. Regardless of what you do, there is nothing like the last word on the subject and say that it is 100%. That is not there in physical security also. Even with Z category security, prime ministers get assassinated. Okay, so that is there. Is it enough? Meaning that that's a extreme word, but you'd say for a large number of attacks, yeah, probably you do a good job if you followed certain practices. Depending on the criticality of the website, you would have to adopt increasing really high security practices. Okay.
Right. Shiva is asking, what is the difference between stored and reflected XSS?
That's a very specific technical question. I think we can take it offline, but this is basically application security related concept. You can easily read about it in OWASP, OWASP. It will explain very clearly what it is.
Yeah. The 10 top vulnerabilities, will talk about it. So yeah, you can get information over there. Priya, what are the tools we have to use for learning, for learn testing?
Very.
Go ahead, sir.
No, you can go ahead. Yeah.
I think it's again a very broad question. It all depends on what is it that you want to learn. I would say that based on what you have identified in terms of what you want to test, there are different sources which will point you in the right direction. So probably a follow-up would be useful if you can tell what you want to learn in testing, then accordingly otherwise
that skill. And if you can learn that skill and bring it to the employer will, they will like that. They will find that attractive. And I can say, really I guess